The insensitivity of inhumane people created a snow demon who would bring death and suffering during snowstorms. In the bitter cold of the blizzard, the members of the film crew are killed one by one. The others are living in fear. How can Kindaichi find out the snow demon and stop the murderous acts of the devil? Kindaichi has a part-time job at the local television station in the winter vacation. The film crew stay in a villa. Nobody knows a horrible murder plot is underway. Getting a threatening letter from the snow demon, they are in a panic. An action movie star, Yasaka Daimon, reassures that it is all someone's joke, because they are shooting in the mountain where begot the snow demon legend. Two actresses are so terrified that they want to turn back to the city at all costs, even if calling for a helicopter. Yasaka Daimon reminds them of being snowstorm bound. Kindaichi comes in to serve hot coffee. Getting worried about being poisoned, Ken Munakata, an actor, asks Kindaichi for a try. As soon as Kindaichi drinks a few sips of coffee, he drops the cup, blood spouts from his mouth, he bends double, holding his stomach in pain and lying still. While all people cry out in horror, two policemen suddenly appear, for they heard their scream. At the same time, they saw a suspicious woman in a kimono, running out off the villa. Concluding that was death by intoxication, the superintendent orders everyone to go back to their rooms immediately. The villa is under the police jurisdiction. Waiting until the two actors take the two actresses in a flat spin to their rooms, the director shouts, "Cut." The murder is actually a game show playing pranks on the two actresses in order to record their fear responses. Kindaichi is a temporary actor. He feels a jolt due to soiling his sweater with fake blood. Kindaichi is startled to realize the detective Kenmochi taking part in the game show. If Kindaichi goes in Miyuki's place because she is ill, Mr. Kenmochi's boss orders such a detective like him to be in the stupid show. Hearing Kenmochi's discontent, his boss says in sanctimonious smile that in America the police help the TV show to make things real. Kindaichi's mouth is agape with astonishment because Mr. Kenmochi's boss is a young man. Although Kengo Akechi has known Kindaichi to be the crime solver in the opera house in Rakaku village, he doesn't appreciate Kindaichi's talent. Because he had seen many similar cases in Los Angeles. After giving Kindaichi a sardonic smile, Akechi warns Mr. Kenmochi to stop complaining. Akechi educated from a Tokyo university and studied criminal psychology in Los Angeles. He is Mr. Kenmochi's boss because of his career cop. In Japan, police officers, if you pass the national examination, you can start as an assistant instead of working your way up. Walking with Marina Ayatsuji, the 20-year-old script supervisor, Kindaichi looks apprehensively around on account of following the show's script. The two actresses think Kindaichi died with poison. Ayatsuji tells him that the villa's owner is a famous artist. The place is the gallery of his own valuable works, so the police has sealed off this area. Kindaichi won't ruin the prank. Speak of the devil, they hide under the table in a hurry when seeing Daimon and Reika. The seducer, Yasaka Daimon, will give Reika a leading role in a famous film in exchange for sexual favors. Regardless of Reika's spurn, Daimon still harasses sexually her. Before Kindaichi gets an opportunity of helping the damsel Reika in distress, Daimon screams like a stuck pig owing to being strangled by the actress Kano. So near and yet so far, Daimon resentfully stomps off after leaving his threat to Kano. Kano lets Reika on the show TV plank because such a huge coward like Yasaka Daimon could not keep calm in the murder. The two actresses have a war of words. Rai Kano warns Reika off being too conceited if she doesn't want her face to be burned, Kano has said, holding the cigarette close to Reika's face. Reika is not an underdog, she supposes Rai Kano is just jealous of the young people's success. Kindaichi's heart is broken for Reika's true colors. Ayatsuji hints that women always have two faces. At the first time, Kindaichi has seen the self-portrait of the owner villa, Mr. Himura, he feels something not right on it. Since a member of the crew is acquainted with the famous painter, here's why they can use his villas. Hearing the huge money, about 5 billion yen for the painting, Kindaichi grins at Ayatsuji, pretends to take the painting down. A door automatically cracks open, the painter shouts at them when they are peering in his room. With Kindaichi's acumen, he suppresses that he just wants the painter's autograph because Kindaichi is his big fan. Having just finished signing, the painter Issei Himuro shuts the door with a bang. As far as Ayatsuji's concerned, the painter Himuro is more antisocial since the plane crash. As a result, he always wears a face mask. Kindaichi indifferently tossed the paper with Himuro's autograph in the wastebasket. A 32-year-old cameraman, Michio Akashi, asks quietly Kindaichi for watching Reika's bath footage. Except an exemplary man, Shuru Hibiki, a sound designer, 4 naughty men including Kindaichi, Michio Akashi, the actor Yasaka Daimon and the director Masashi Hiruda are staring at the screen. Given that the feminine charm of Reika's body and Kano's hot body, their mouths keep watering. Knowing well the lewd men in the crew, Kano blocks their view wisely. At the end of the shoot, the director Masashi Hiruda prepares Rai Kano for a prank. The night goes by peacefully, but the snowstorm is getting stronger. At 5:03 in the morning, they get up to move to the main building across the river. Aiming to placate Reika's anger when she knew the murder was a joke, the director tells her that the rebellious woman, Rai Kano, will be a victim of this hoax. They hasn't looked for Akashi, the cameraman, so they leave Akashi and Rai Kano behind. The main building and the annex face each other, they are divided by a river. The bridge connected straightly to the two buildings was washed away last summer. Therefore, it takes them 20 minutes to drive upstream via another bridge. The village's electricity comes from hydroelectric power, but there is no power as transmitted electricity from midnight to 6 in the morning. The snow demon portrait is so lively that it scares Kindaichi to death as he turns the generator on. Maria Ayatsuji brings hot coffee to everyone. The painter Himuro silently takes a cup of coffee back to his room. There are 5 hidden cameras in the annex building. While Rai Kano is in deep sleep on the screen, the director asks Ayatsuji to pick Kano up after scaring her witless. Covering the remotes for Akashi, Kindaichi presses the button excitedly. Rai Kano is rudely awakened by loud noises. In the blind panic, she runs in the hallway. The vase is broken into pieces out of the blue. Apart from the painter and the young actor Ken, all of them are enjoying Kano's fear because it serves her right for being a shrew. A snow demon appears abruptly on the screen. Kindaichi wonders who is playing the role because Ayatsuji has just left for 5 minutes, it must take 20 minutes to get there. They are all helpless as a murder case takes shape right before their eyes. Despite blanching from fear at the sight of the snow demon, Rai Kano holds back her feelings to ask the snow demon for taking off the dumb mask. While they continue fruitlessly to make a phone call to Ayatsuji, who is driving to there, the snow demon swings coldly the axe high, brings it down on Rai Kano's head. Right in front of their eyes, her blood is scattered everywhere. Rai Kano is brutally murdered as if they are watching a horror movie scene. The demon turns his head sharp round to break the camera. Through the outside camera, the snow demon gradually vanishes into the snowstorm, leaving a quiet villa in the wildly screaming wind. Seeing the car on the screen, the phone finally is connected. As they have only one car, the superintendent Akechi asks Ayatsuji to turn the van around immediately to take them back. Akechi announces this is a real homicide investigation. Rai Kano's body is covered with a white sheet. Except Reika, all of them are on the scene. Kindaichi feels something wrong on the wall, but he is still unable to know what definitely it is. Moreover, the village is storm-bound. The police can't come until the storm abates. The director Masashi Hiruda presumes that the bum cameraman Akashi killed Rai Kano on account of his disappearance since the murder took place. Michio Akashi used to get in huge fights with Kano when she was an unknown reporter besides. Additionally, the actor Ken Munakata has recently gained notoriety as a prominent gay had his beef with the victim. While everyone is guessing blindly the killer, the sound designer Shuru Hibiki believes that it is the real snow demon who did it. The owner of Villa, the painter Issei Himuro, opens unexpectedly the door into the living room. Akechi informs seriously them about being trapped with the murderer in the village due to the snowstorm. On the way to their rooms, the sound designer, Hibiki, tells Kindaichi the legend about the snow demon of Sagori village. The story actually happened in the late 1800s during Meiji era. The settlers in the Sagori village were so poor that their children were sold into slavery. One day, a girl who had been sold, ran back to the village with her infant child in wet and snowy condition. However, being afraid of her owner, the villagers didn't welcome her. Hence, her kid died of a chill. She disappeared after leaving a spell to the village. Ever since she comes back as a snow demon to kill the villagers whenever snowstorms rage. Apparently her despair of the abandonment and the pitiable death of her kid by the hands of the villagers that transformed the poor woman into a cruel monster. The blizzard is a metaphor of her anger and desperation. Bitterly cold wind is blown from her freezing heart. Kindaichi is sorting out the chaos in his head. When they move to the main building, the cameraman, Akashi, has completely disappeared since. Moreover, he had a motive and no alibi. Everybody, including 2 policemen, the pop singer Reika, the director Hiruta, the sound designer Hibiki, were all together watching the monitor. Even though the painter Himuro left immediately when they woke the victim Kano up, there was not enough time for him to go back to the annex without a car. It takes at least 20 minutes to drive and there is no another way to across the canyon. The murder occurred only 5 minutes after the script supervisor, Ayatsuji, left. Therefore, she has not enough time to get to the annex. A few minutes after Ayatsuji left, the actor Daimon went to his room, but he came back 30 minutes after that. The gay actor Ken slept in his room since they went to the main building, yet he came back right after the singer Reika's scream. The result indicates that there is but the cameraman, Akashi, is the homicide. The script supervisor Ayatsuji knocks at the door to tell Kindaichi that the police will soon question an old villager who lives close by. Kindaichi asks Mr. Kenmochi for an observation during the interrogation. In contrast with Mr. Kenmochi, the superintendent Akechi doesn't agree because it is a kid's game. Although Mr. Kenmochi tries to convince his boss about Kindaichi's keen intelligence, the superintendent Akechi supposes that Kindaichi just got lucky in the couple of cases. Furthermore, Akechi isn't willing to turn the crime scene into Kindaichi's playground. The superintendent Akechi even mocks at Mr. Kenmochi's qualification, for he puts stocks in a kid's gut instinct. As far as he is concerned, the case is like a daily event in America. All at once, he is interested in the reputation of Kindaichi's grandfather, a famous detective. Akechi wants to compete against Kindaichi in solving the case. Akechi bursts out laughing. He can't compete with a kid. He threatens Kindaichi to become the next victim of the mysterious snow demon. The detective Kenmochi apologizes to Kindaichi for his cocky boss. The old man is in the full conviction that the villagers are all too elderly to kill someone. In addition, there is only one road to their small village, so they know right away if someone arrives. Kindaichi is sure that the murderer is in the villa because only they knew where the hidden cameras were to destroy one of them after his murderous action. Akechi's eyelids flutter open in shock owing to Kindaichi's shrewd reasoning. However, he jocularly intimidates Kindaichi into nightmares from the snow demon. Before returning home, the old man says he saw Will-o'-the-Wisp by the Sagori River around the time the incident happened. The detective Kenmochi thinks the old man is so old that he believed that chalk is cheese. Michio Akashi had no alibi, must be the murderer. The opposite of Mr. Kenmochi's optimistic attitude, Kindaichi is worried that the snow demon will continue to kill people until the snowstorm stops. Hearing Ayatsuji's screech, they run outside the villa. The dead body of Akashi, who Mr. Kenmochi assured to be the killer, is hidden in a snowman. Ayatsuji saw it on the way to get something in the car. Hibiki presumes that Akashi planned the shooting, so if the snow demon has cursed at them, logically Akashi was the first prey. While Kindaichi is wondering about the homicide's purpose of hiding Akashi's dead body in the snowman, Daimon is staring at Akashi's hand having a cinch of dry grasses which are food for horses and cows in the winter. The superintendent Akechi asserts the cause of death as a blow to the back of his head. Judging by how frozen the body is, Akashi was murdered before Rai Kano. If Kano died more than 6 hours ago, Akashi did over 12 hours ago. Everyone has their alibis. The prime suspect became a lifeless body. The case is a bona fide mystery. Akechi suggests to make a bet with Mr. Kenmochi and Kindaichi, whose tactics are more effective. Kindaichi answers with perfect composure that being a superintendent at Akechi's age is admirable. It is his intelligence will one day bring him down though. Although the murder should not use for a bet, Kindaichi ensures to win Akechi and takes Akechi's snobby face off and rubs it in the dirt. Facing Kindaichi's sharp response, the arrogant detective Akechi sets his sights on winning the wager. He flings his police notebook to the ground. After hesitating for a few minutes, the detective Kenmochi takes up the bet. The loser will have to do whatever the winner wants. The detective Kenmochi talks to Kindaichi that they can't lose because the police job is very important for him to support his family. Kindaichi starts to question the painter Himuro for his insolid alibi. Master Himuro had fell asleep alone for 30 minutes in his room. He woke up at 5:30 a.m. There is only one car. If he had walked to the annex, it would have taken him 1 hour to there. Resemblance to the artist Himuro, the gay actor Ken disappeared as soon as they went to the main building. Nevertheless, he couldn't have enough time to do that. At the closed-circuit television room, watching the recorded videotape, Kindaichi realizes the snow demon stopped unexpectedly as if he noticed something. Therefore, Kindaichi infers that a change of paintings from breaking the camera. The self-portrait of the artist Himuro was replaced by another painting. The self-portrait would have to be detrimental to the killer, so he destroyed it. The arrogant man Akechi is abruptly in front of the door. He agrees with Kindaichi that the painting might give them a clue. Akechi is in the control room to watch the videotape which captured pictures of the painting. Looking at the painting for a long time, they have not yet seen the clue is harbored. The murder has received extensive media coverage. The best friend of Kindaichi, Miyuki, is so worried about him that she rings him up. By the way, Kindaichi gets Miyuki to refer to online documents for information on the artist Issei Himuro, the owner of the buildings. At the living room, they are watching the news about Rai Kano's cruel death. From Miyuki's facts, the artist of genius was born in 1965, world-renowned 10 years ago. Nonetheless, he had been always reclusive, so not many people know him. He survived the plane crash 10 years ago. At that time, Mr. Kenmochi's friend was commissioned to investigate the air crash. It was a nightmare, plane parts and dead bodies scattered across the countryside for miles. There were a few lucky passengers to escape death. Master Himuro's mask and sunglasses must cover up his scars from the accident. Ever since then he stopped painting. While Kindaichi is eating with enthusiasm, he is startled by Rai Kano's scream on TV. The scene Kano was killed shown on TV in memory of her. Kindaichi has come up with a murderous method. He is just about to explain it. Akechi interrupts him. The superintendent jostles with Kindaichi for all the credit. Akechi deduces that the homicide convinced Rai Kano to pay the crew in their own coins. The dead cameraman Akashi filmed the scene Rai Kano was killed by the snow demon. Then he set the tape to play on the monitor. When the shock TV began, the real scene Rai Kano got scared was on the monitor. The murderer switched to the footage of the snow demon's appearance which had been shot before by Akashi. At that time Rai was still alive. With that trick, there was only one person could have killed Rai Kano. Akechi takes them to the ropeway where was used to carry baggages. Its weight limit is 30 kilograms, about 66 pounds. Akechi has everyone carry out an experiment to find the real weight limit of the ropeway. After 2 experiments with 30 kilograms and 38 kilograms, the ropeway operates smoothly. However, when the snow basket gets to 40 kilograms, about 88 pounds, the rope is broken. That means the real weight limit of the ropeway is 38 kilograms, around 83 pounds. Actresses are often on extreme diets. Akechi is convinced the singer Reika is the killer. After having watched the murder in the control room, all of them but Reika headed back to the annex. Taking advantage of their 20-minute drive, it took Reika 7 minutes to get to the annex by the ropeway and killed Kano afterwards. When Reika denies the accusation, Akechi makes her get on the scale to prove her weight. Reika is so fearful that she runs back to her room. In the control room, the superintendent Akechi proves Reika's weight by a videotape. When she weighed herself on the bathroom scale, she was only 36 kilograms, about 79 pounds. Counting her clothes, she couldn't be over 38 kilograms. While 5 men are thundering at the door, Reika entrenches herself in her room. They have to force the door open to arrest her. She struggles violently and cries out hopelessly. Kindaichi appears like a hero. He asks the men to release her, for he can prove she may not be the murderer. They left the main building at 5:45 a.m. and got to the annex at 6 to 5 a.m. The main point is, the village uses hydroelectric power. The power supply stops from midnight to 6 a.m. Hence nobody could use the ropeway before 6 a.m., but they got to the main building at 5 past 6 a.m. Reika could not kill Rai Kano within 5 minutes. Kindaichi criticizes the detective Akechi for his hunger for success that caused the misjudgment. The 5 men leave Reika's room silently. Although Akechi admits to being wrong, he warns Kindaichi off letting it go to his head. Kindaichi smiles in reassurance at Reika, then helps her to close the door. In order to thank Kindaichi, Reika brings him a cup of hot coffee to the control room. She is bashful and lovely like a cat at the moment. Reika opens her heart to Kindaichi. Her childhood memories were of working time in the theater company since she was 5 years old. At present Reika is completely different to the shrew-had argument with Kano. Just as Ayatsuji said, every woman had two faces. Meeting Reika's eyes with a confused expression, Kindaichi awkwardly scatters some hot coffee on the remote. When Reika is giving the remote a good clean, the footage incidentally changes to the will-o'-the-wisp scene from the window. There is an orange light shining in the canyon. On winter holidays, Kindaichi works for a film crew. They are filming in a village hidden in the snowy mountains. Under the guise of the snow demon, the homicide killed Rai Kano, an actress of the crew. It was followed by Akashi's death, a cameraman. The annex where Kano was killed is 20-minute drive away from the main building. After just 5 minutes, the script supervisor, Ayatsuji, drove the only car to the annex. The murder happened. Nobody had enough time to do his killing. Therefore, all of them had their solid alibis. Kindaichi accidentally discovered the will-o'-the-wisp when he reviewed the footage from a camera. Kindaichi, the detective Kenmochi and some members of the crew go to the old man's house to ask for the will-o'-the-wisp. He saw it about 5 a.m. because he always wakes up early to take care of his horses. The old villager's house places on a straight line with the window of the annex building across the river. Kindaichi pinpoints the spot of the will-o'-the-wisp. It is the narrowest position between the two sides of the canyon, about 15 feet. If someone could pass through the canyon, it would only take a few minutes from the main building to the annex building. However, the distance is the narrowest, nobody can jump over. Plus, the snowstorm has been fierce. Whether the boastful daimon was a real long champion in high school, he could not do it. Hibiki fastens the rope. Kindaichi and the detective Kenmochi hold the rope and slide down. Reika has the courage to follow them. She also wants to find the real murderer. The flow of water is seriously strong. Swimming across the river will become fish food. Picking a piece of rope up from the river, Kindaichi smiles, as though looking for an important clue. Observing Kindaichi's group with binoculars, the detective Akechi considers himself smart. Going out in this blizzard to find out clues is a fool's errand that helps him to confirm his speculation anyway. Relying on the piece of rope, the detective Kenmochi analyzes the killer's trick. He tied the rope at the two guardrails of the two canyon brinks. Following the rope, he got 5 minutes to scramble across the canyon. Kindaichi further suggests that the homicide would tie the rope in a big loop, threading the rope through the guardrails. Hereby, he could take the whole rope back by cutting it at one end. The detective Akechi is a little impressed that the group of Kindaichis are progressive in cracking the case. However, Akechi thinks they can't keep up with the murderer's tricks. Kindaichi hasn't yet figured out the will-o'-the-wisp. A flashlight could not cast such a powerful light from the bottom. At the director Hiruta's room, he is extremely frightened that someone is planning to take all money for himself. The director mumbles that the next victim is him. Speak of the devil, behind Mr. Hiruta, a vicious dark shadow lifts the axe over his shoulders, aims at the back of Hiruta's head. Following after a few blood-stained bills in the hallway, the detective Kenmochi discovers the axe of the snow demon is planted in the door, and the director Hiruta died on piles of money. They are completely dumbfounded by his death. The blizzard is roaring, screaming and swishing with no signs of stopping. It means the snow demon is still hunting. All of them are under threat. Kindaichi hasn't found out the killer's motive yet. Looking himself in the mirror, Kindaichi unlocks the mystery of the self-portrait. Just at that moment, Miyuki calls in for useful information. It was reported that the three victims, the actress Kano, the cameraman Akashi and the director Hiruta, were related to the tragic plane crash 10 years ago. They rescued the painter Issei Himuro and some survivors from the accident. Kindaichi has Miyuki fax the details of the accident to him. At the control room, the superintendent is trying to solve the mystery of the artist Himuro's self-portrait. When he loosens his tie a bit, he suddenly realizes the murderer as well as the mystery of the painting. Holding the faxes in hand, Kindaichi is surprised that the three people were meanwhile hailed as heroes in the press. The superintendent Akechi rudely snatches the faxes from Kindaichi. Reading the passage once through, Akechi smiles triumphantly. Asking everyone to gather in the sitting room, Akechi sonorously announces that the owner of the villa, the artist Issei Himuro is the murderer, he is actually imposter. Normally the buttons for men on the right and women on the left, nevertheless, the shirt buttons of the self-portrait, they are on the left. There is only one plausible explanation, it is self-portrait of the artist is the reflection of the artist Himuro in a mirror. Thus, the image is reversed, the right hand holding the brush is really his left hand. Master Himuro is left-handed, whereas the fake artist has always used his right hand, that is why he took the self-portrait after killing Kano. Besides, the false Himuro disappeared from 4 AM to 5 AM on the day of the first murder. Firstly, in the morning of the murder, the impersonator sneaked out of the main building, passed through the canyon with the rope to get to the annex. Secondly, he changed into the snow demon costume. After killing Rai Kano and seeing his reflection in window glass, he realized that he had made a serious mistake, so he broke the camera then changed the painting which could expose his impersonation. Thirdly, he killed the actress Rai Kano, the cameraman Akashi and the director Hiruta because they knew his true identity. All of them were complicit in faking the famous artist Himuro, the real Himuro was already dead by the time they got to the scene. In conclusion, the fake Himuro wants to monopolize the whole fortune of Himuros. Akechi leads everybody to arrest false Himuro. To pound at the door for a while, nobody answers. The detective Kenmochi breaks into the room. Unexpectedly, the imposter is dead sitting down on the table. The script supervisor, Ayatsuji, shows the superintendent Akechi the room key on the floor. There is a suicide note confessing to his criminal acts. The fake Himuro, real name Takao Mizunuma, was a makeup artist. The four of them were staying at a house near the crash scene. After hearing a loud explosion, they ran as fast as possible with the intent of getting scoops. Kano saw the dead body of the famous Himuro, exploiting the reclusion of the artist, and the similarity in stature between the artist Mr. Himuro and the makeup artist Mizunuma, they had the bold determination to replace Mr. Himuro and seize his property. After having buried the real Himuro, every day after that Takao Mizunuma has created burn scars on his face by his makeup skills. Plus wearing a wig, mask and sunglasses, he has disguised himself as Mr. Himuro. He moved to Mr. Himuro's mountain villa and sold his paintings. One day his greed arose. In order to monopolize the whole of Mr. Himuro's money, he planned to annihilate his fellow criminals. Firstly, he took the shock TV script to the cameraman Akashi and proposed using the villa. Secondly, he met up with Akashi and killed him. Thirdly, he murdered Kano, but he realized that he made a fatal mistake when seeing the self-portrait hanging in the hallway. The painting is a reflection, that meant Issei Himuro was left-handed. Thus, he destroyed the painting. Finally, he took the life of the director Hiruta. Man proposes, God disposes. Mizunuma overheard Akechi discovering the truth of the self-portrait. The fake Himuro decided to commit suicide by poison. The pathetic man still signed Himuro's name on the suicide note. The door and windows were locked, the key was in the room. Removing his disguise, they saw the real face of the imposter, Takao Mizunuma. The snow demon mask and costume which Mr. Real Himuro might use to paint the portrait of the snow demon are in the closet. After solving the case, the haughty superintendent Akechi asks Kindaichi not to stick his nose into police business, and of course he doesn't not forget to ridicule the detective Kenmochi in front of everyone. Akechi holds Mr. Kenmochi to their bed as a result of his incompetence, then leaves with an arrogant attitude. In fact, Kindaichi saw very soon the details of the case what Akechi has said. However, he hasn't explained the will-o'-the-wisp, which is the key to unlock the whole story. In the artist's room, Kindaichi has found out an expensive pair of scissors. Thanks to it, Kindaichi understands how the killer set up his alibi and the pompous Akechi has been manipulated by the real murderer. According to the weather forecast, the snowstorm is tapering off. Mr. Kenmochi is pondering on what Kindaichi said. But anyway, he lost their bet, he had better write up his resignation letter. Knocking at the door, Kindaichi gets Mr. Kenmochi to take him to Kano's crime scene. Although Kindaichi has known the real killer, he has not destroyed the homicide's alibi. The detective Kenmochi complains about the dirty car window. Kindaichi spontaneously sprays water to clean it. A white color covers the whole car window. The detective frantically stops the car, then knocks on Kindaichi's head for his idiocy. At such low temperature, water will freeze immediately. How can drive with seeing nothing? Need further explanation that water has a high specific latent heat of solidification. Because of this property, lakes and rivers do not suddenly freeze in the winters. Thanks to Kenmochi's thump, Kindaichi abruptly realizes the killer's trick. All of mysteries have solved. Kindaichi asks them to act right now before the storm passes. Using the ladle to knock the pot, Kindaichi wakes everyone up. To look at their sleepy faces, Kindaichi seriously says that he has looked for the real murderer. He is not dead. The superintendent Akechi intentionally disrespects Kindaichi to be a very sore loser. Regardless of Akechi's rudeness, Kindaichi solemnly presents the case. Kindaichi gives Akechi the pair of scissors which he found out in Himuro's office and asks him to use it. Based on the arrangement of the blades, Akechi verifies that the scissors are for left-handed people. On the box of the scissors, there is a label that says tax included. But, the consumption tax was enacted in April 1989, whereas the real Himuro died in 1983. That means the scissors were bought by the impersonator, Mizunuma, and he was left-handed like the real Himuro. Additionally, the pictures of Takao Mizunuma faxed from Tokyo, he wore the glove on his right hand, so he had throw the basketball with left hand. It indicates that Mizunuma was left-handed. He pretended to be right-handed because he misunderstood the real Himuro was right-handed through the self-portrait. The matter is why a left-handed person held the pen with his right hand when he wrote the suicide note, and destroyed the painting which proved him and Mr. Himuro to be left-handed. There is only one explanation, that it's all just a conspiracy to frame Mizunuma for murder. The homicide set a perfect trap to lure the conceited detective Akechi into. The real murderer is one of them. The plane crashed into Odaka Mountain 10 years ago. The hellish sight reeked of dead bodies and jet fuel. The snow demon was born. The room where they found Mizunuma wasn't locked from inside. Only one person was capable of doing that. Kindaichi puts the kerosene lamp symbolizing the justice light to Marina Ayatsuji's face. The script supervisor, he loudly announces that Ayatsuji is the murderer. It is Ayatsuji pointing the key on the floor out to the superintendent Akechi. Firstly, Ayatsuji killed Mizunuma with poison, typed the suicide note on his computer, signed the name Issei Himuro based on the autograph which Kindaichi threw away earlier. After placing the pen in Mizunuma in his right hand, she locked the door from outside and went to dining room for listening to Akechi cracking the case. She played it cool, went to Himuro's office with everyone afterwards. Take advantage of all attention falling on Mizunuma's body, she threw the key down to the carpet, then pretended as she had just found it. At that time, nearly everyone was outside the door. Only 4 people of them entered the room: the detective Kenmochi, the superintendent Akechi, Kindaichi and Ayatsuji. Ayatsuji was the last one. Considering where everybody stood, there was but Ayatsuji who was capable of throwing the key. Kindaichi criticizes Akechi for his vanity that turned him into her pawn. Akechi isn't easily subdued. As far as he's concerned, if Ayatsuji were the killer, she couldn't have showed the Akashi's body in the snowman, because everyone had thought Akashi to be the murderer on account of his disappearance. Kindaichi calmly analyzes that killing firstly Akashi was outside of her schedule. If his dead body were found earlier, the TV shock wouldn't have been cancelled. As a result, she had no chance to kill Rai Kano and created her alibi. Therefore, she hid Akashi's body in the snowman by the entrance. There were 2 reasons she had to show Akashi's body to them later. First, after Kano's death, if Akashi remained missing, the false Himuro would have never been under suspicion. Second was the weather. If the snowstorm let up, police would have come. She had no opportunity to finish her murder plan, so she needed them to discover the fake Himuro. Given that searching out Akashi, they would focus on the mystery of the self-portrait. She succeeded in leading the superintendent Akechi into her trap. Then they supposed the case ended with the imposter's death. In reality, Maria Ayatsuji was one of survivors of the plane crash. Her name had been Maria Hughes. She changed her surname after her adoptive family, Ayatsuji. Ayatsuji admits to being the survivor of the plane crash, but just after 5 minutes she left. Kano was killed. Everyone knows that it takes a 20-minute drive from the main building to the annex where Kano was murdered. Even though she could have used the rope trick across the canyon, she couldn't arrive on time at the annex. The superintendent Akechi asks Kindaichi in a provoking undertone if could Ayatsuji fly or drive the van over the tightrope. Smiling slightly, Kindaichi takes all of them to the ravine. Kindaichi climbs over the fence, strides confidently across the ravine. The car headlights illuminate the amazing ice bridge. The shimmer and magic of the ice bridge make them excited apart from Ayatsuji. Driving on the regular way with the bridge upriver spends 20 minutes to the annex. Thanks to the ice bridge, time would be reduced to 3 minutes flat. Hearing some noises, the old villager comes to watch. He calls the ice bridge Shugabashi, mean the ice bridge in the Hokkaido dialect. When the old villager was small, his grandfather told him about the special bridge. They strung ropes across the river, laid straws and branches on, covered it with snow, finally took water out of the river and poured it on. Water would quickly freeze. The ice bridge could carry a few tons, yet many villagers didn't not know about the bridge. The old man gives compliments for Kindaichi's brilliance. The idea of creating the ice bridge stems from 4 factors. First, a few straws in Akashi's hand. Second, the piece of rope in the river. Third, the river never freezes. Finally, the will-o'-the-wisp on the videotape. The night before Kano was murdered, Ayatsuji snuck out while everyone was asleep. She went to the narrowest section of the canyon. She might tie the ropes the day before. Because of poor visibility during the blizzard, nobody noticed the ropes. She laid the straws, branches on, added snow on top, then froze them instantly with water from the river. She did in turn each segment of the bridge to the other side. The unexpected happens. Ayatsuji didn't know that Akashi followed her. While Akashi was overwhelmed with the magic of the ice bridge, Ayatsuji hit him on the back of his head with a shovel. Before he died, he managed to grab a few bits of straws in his hand. That was his dying message. After hiding Akashi in the snowman, she continued her plan. That day, all of them got up at 4 a.m. but Kano, they could not see her ice bridge, though they passed it on account of the snowstorm. She made coffee for everyone and put sleeping pills in the fakey Muro's cup. She made him fall asleep, so his alibi got the weakest. Shock TV began at 4:55 a.m. Ayatsuji had left the main building 5 minutes before. She turned off the walkie-talkie, crossed the Shugabashi, the ice bridge. The superintendent Akechi doesn't believe that the Shugabashi is not strong, stable enough to allow a van with 2 tons across over it in completely safety. Kindaichi right away demonstrates the stability of the Shugabashi to everyone. Receiving the signal from Kindaichi, the detective Kenmochi drives slowly across the Shugabashi. The superintendent can't believe in his eyes, neither can others. The Shugabashi is strong and stable. Kindaichi shows his mischievous smile to Akechi. He adds that is not all of astonishment. Kindaichi and the detective Kenmochi heap straws up at the middle of the Shugabashi. Pouring gasoline from the haystack to the edge, Kindaichi lights the fire. The burning blaze is devouring the pile of straws. The Shugabashi starts to dissolve rapidly owing to the heat of the fire. Each part of the ice bridge is falling into the river that creates the large part of light like the will-o'-the-wisp. The Shugabashi collapses and disappears entirely. The river washes away the rest of the ice bridge. Unfortunately for Ayatsuji, Kindaichi found the piece of the rope getting stuck in the rock crevice. Ayatsuji parked the van out of sight of the cameras, changed into the snow demon costume to kill Kano afterwards. Once she had finished, she returned the van and waited for a bit until enough 20 minutes from she left. She drove to the annexes through she just arrived. Ayatsuji's face turns cloudy. She says they deserve to die and asks Kindaichi if he has ever had a dream about hell. 10 years ago, Ayatsuji with his parents were in the plane crash. Many years have passed since then, but that horrible memory can't be still erased. The great explosion knocked Ayatsuji unconscious. She finally became awake. Her whole body was in pain. All around her were dead bodies and smoking wreckages. Ayatsuji was desperate to look for her parents. She couldn't find out her father, whereas her mum was stuck beneath the wreckage crushing her. With the weak human strength of a little girl, Ayatsuji could not help her mum to get out. She just sat next to her mum and hopefully the wreckage would not collapse. It was a few minutes later, 4 people came to. They only concentrated on something, paid no attention to injured people around. Ayatsuji incessantly pleaded with them for helping her mum. In response to her piteous supplication, little Ayatsuji was thrown away. They repelled her like a nuisance fly. It was completely ironic that the four devils in the skin of human were praised their courage. There was no other way. Ayatsuji tried her best to raise the wreckage by herself. With her tears of sorrow steaming down on her cheeks, she didn't want her mum to die. Didn't want the little daughter in danger. The mother pushed her daughter off the wreckage, which collapsed instantaneously and simultaneously crushed the mother in pain. The seed of hatred took root in the child's heart. It's their inhumanities claimed her mother's life callously. Even when living with her relatives, she has dreamt about the horrible day her mum kept dying in front of her eyes. She had promised herself to kill them with her own hands. She has no regrets. After confessing to her crime, Ayatsuji calmly accepts to be arrested. The blizzard of indignation and despair is blowing inside her heart. The anger and hopelessness of losing her loved one transformed a poor girl into a vengeful snow demon. A helicopter picks up the crew members. Kindaichi stays to support the detective Kenmochi. Reika lingers to say goodbye to Kindaichi so long that the gay actor Ken has to haul her on board the helicopter. The murder case at Segori has come to an end. At the jail, Ayatsuji is pretty shocked by Kindaichi's visit. The memories of her mother's death remains coming back in her dreams, though she killed the four inhumane people. She doesn't regret. As long as they were alive, she would still kill them. Kindaichi has no awful experiences like Ayatsuji. He cannot know how hurt she has suffered. Nevertheless, her mother made sacrifice for her. The only desire of her mother before dying was that her daughter Ayatsuji lived happily. Don't want to be taught by a younger boy, Ayatsuji leaves. When she turns her back to Kindaichi, tears from her eyes silently fall down. She thanks Kindaichi for his visit. The detective Kenmochi said to Kindaichi that Ayatsuji's life in prison at the very least, but maybe special consideration for parole. Speak of devil, as soon as Kindaichi wonders the relationship between the detective Kenmochi and Superintendent Akechi, Akechi is walking towards them. He makes way respectfully for Mr. Kenmochi. Mr. Kenmochi thanks profusely Kindaichi. He is very touched to share during all his year of being a policeman, he has never felt so good. Akechi vows inside his heart that next time things will go his way. Reika appears beautiful on TV. She makes a slip of the tongue that she only gave out one person chocolates on the Valentine's Day. Since Reika is a famous singer, Miyuki is so curious about her special man who she gave chocolates out. She asks Kindaichi if he knows about Reika's boyfriend. Kindaichi just wants chocolates from Miyuki. Receiving chocolates from Miyuki, Kindaichi is happy like a child, and eats voraciously afterwards. Miyuki tries to look serious, says to him that her chocolates is for their friendship. At Kindaichi's house, his mother receives Reika's chocolates to her son. She is quite surprised at the popularity of girls to her son. It is true that the four victims are cruel and greedy, but however scummy they were, they had their own families to care. I wonder if Ayatsuji thought about their loved people.